Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for standing by. My name is Daphne Worrell, Marketing Manager for ODG by MCG, and I'm excited to welcome you to today's webinar, Introducing the New ODG by MCG. During this webinar, all participants will be in a listen-only mode. If you'd like to ask a question, please use the chat feature located in the lower corner of your screen. We'll save some time at the end for a few questions, and any questions we don't get to, we will respond through email following the webinar. The webinar is being recorded, and the recording will be sent to you within 1 week. Our presenter today is Suzanne Swirsky, Account Executive for ODG by MCG. Suzanne has been with ODG for almost 9 years and is an Account Executive and Billing Specialist for ODG. She works with clients transitioning from legacy ODG, getting them onboarded to ODG by MCG. Some fun facts about Suzanne: she's an avid CrossFitter and a single mom to a beautiful 16-year-old daughter, and she's obsessed with her 2 pugs, Champ and Zoe. And also, she didn't put this in her bio, but I want to add that Suzanne won first place in a co-ed CrossFit competition last month, which I think is amazing and definitely worth bragging about. So Suzanne, you can take it from here.
All right. Thank you, Daphne. Just want to make sure that you can see my screen.
I can.
Perfect. All right. Thank you, Daphne, and thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Welcome to ODG by MCG, which is the new release from ODG. As many of you may know, back in January of 2017, we were acquired by MCG Health, which is part of the Hearst Health Network. Now, early on, we knew one of our strategic initiatives and major investments was to update the ODG website, and the response has been overwhelmingly positive. Some of the feedback that we've received is that it's aesthetically pleasing, intuitive, fast, actionable, configurable, easier to use, with more functionality than our legacy site. For now, we do plan to keep both sites running simultaneously, but we do plan to sunset legacy ODG sometime in 2020 in hopes that most of our customers have migrated over. Today, I will be providing a high-level demonstration of the new platform, which is the web version of ODG, but keep in mind that everything you see today is designed for integration and automation in your case and claims, EMR, EHR systems. You may also schedule a one-on-one with your account manager or our implementation specialist for further information and guidance for all ODG solutions. And if you don't know who your account manager is, please reach out to us by email or phone, and we will connect you with the right person. So we're going to begin on the home page today, where you can see in the center that we include the 3 main components of ODG, and that is disability duration and return to work, evidence-based medical treatment, and cost. And the reason we bring these 3 areas of content to you is because they're all interrelated. The biggest driver of cost, particularly in a workers' comp or disability claim, is claim duration. The longer that claim is open, the higher the cost. And the best thing that we can do to keep those costs down is to manage disability and return to work. I should say disability duration and return to work, but also, most importantly, through the provision of evidence-based medical care. If you get the wrong care or have to wait too long to get any care, that is what will drive your costs through the moon. Now, the purpose of these guidelines is to assist you in getting everyone working toward common goals and expectations, which is to help people with functional improvement return to health and return to work. So we've taken a modern design and approach with this platform using a tab-based format, bringing all the super content directly to you. So we have disability duration and return to work on the left, evidence-based medical treatment spans the 3 tabs in the middle, and cost. Earlier this year, we did introduce a new tab. It's the Job Profile tab, and this is a tool that you can use to help accommodate return to work and return to work modifications. Now, to begin, I'm going to show you how to find content within ODG by providing a few examples. There are a few ways to gain access to the guidelines, but the easiest and quickest way to find anything on the site is with the search bar, where you may search by topic or by code. So to give you an example, I'll go ahead and type in a medical topic name such as carpal tunnel. Now, as I type this in, you're going to notice that results will populate down below. So you can see I have results under duration as well as treatment. And then green check marks are going to appear on the tabs that have pertinent information pertaining to that medical topic or condition. To give you a few more examples, I'll go ahead and type in, you can type in something like burn or depression. You can type in hip replacement. You can also type in a specific procedure or surgery. For instance, let's say I want to look at a discectomy. Now, if you don't know the medical topic or condition, you can also do a broad search on the body part. For example, I can just type in shoulder or back. Now, we wanted to make this search function as easy as possible for the end user. So the default search is by medical topic, but if you choose, you can search by code simply by selecting this drop-down window and then select the code that you are searching to complete your search. So in addition to ICD 9 or 10 codes, you can also search by CPT or NDC codes. Now, if you're looking for a treatment guideline, you can scroll down and click on a yellow node on the corresponding body part, and this is going to pull up all the treatment guidelines related to that body part. An example would be shoulder or elbow, knee and leg. And then to the right, we do include the top 15 conditions as well as the top 15 medical treatments. And these are also quick links to the guidelines. So a key difference in our new platform is that everything can be configured at the client level. So if your organization is seeing certain diagnoses or conditions more frequently that are not on this list, we can customize that for you. So I'm going to go ahead and select back sprain to get started. In the first tab I see that is selected for me is the duration tab. I have that condition pinned here up top in green. You'll also notice the condition here. And then we do include a short definition of the injury or illness down here. And then populated for me are the duration and return to work timeframes, which are displayed in two different data sets. We have the B value, which is the best practice, and the A value, or the average. And I'll take a moment to explain what these values mean. So ODG has been the leading publisher of evidence-based guidelines for the past 22 years. And during this time, we've been collecting and synthesizing ongoing data, primarily from insurance companies, TPAs, state funds, providers, self-insured, and self-administered employers. And they go for the ongoing development of our guidelines. That database is an aggregate of 10 million lost time, both workers' comp and non-occupational disability claims. So from the data we've collected, what we're showing with the A value is the average return to work time frame. This is a typical scenario for someone presenting with a back sprain. Now, the two contributing factors that produce this number are the medical contributions and the non-medical factors that contribute to lost time. So the non-medical factors would include like someone who may be going through a divorce or they're having difficulty at work, anything that is not medically related to their diagnosis but prolongs return to work. So this number provides both the medical as well as the non-medical contributions, and you can use this number for retrospective benchmarking, but you can and should aim for or manage to the B value, which is the best practice. So what does best practice mean? Well, the B value is informed by the data, but it also undergoes an annual peer review process. We have an editorial advisory board of over 100 physicians with multidisciplinary backgrounds that reviews the data that we've collected. And we ask them, if we extracted those non-medical factors, what does more of a physiological healing time look like? and that represents the B value. So if you sprain your neck in a car accident, or you sprain your back lifting weights or slipping on a wet surface, what we're trying to do is manage towards the healing time of that sprain, and that represents the B value. So we're trying to manage towards functional improvement, help people get back to their productive lives, back to health, and back to work. So the goal is to get people from point A to point B and capture the difference of savings. Now, what we're projecting here with the A and B duration values, as well as this risk assessment score, is at the diagnosis level. But we don't treat back sprains, we treat people, right? And being the leading publisher of evidence-based guidelines, we've been able to collect and synthesize enough data that allows us to go from a diagnosis level, such as a back sprain, down to the claim level. Now, every claim is different, and to get a more precise return to work projection, we can enter that claim level information by selecting this refine button that's to the right of the search bar. But before I do that, I want to bring your attention back down to this risk assessment score. Now, you'll notice as I input information, the score will change. The risk assessment score is a predictive modeling tool that measures the relative risk level for each claim on a scale from 0 to 100. 0 being lowest risk level and 100 being highest risk level. And when we say risk, what we mean by risk is the likelihood the claim will become a high cost, problematic, or potentially where the patient will not return to work. And you can use this tool a variety of ways. It differs from client to client on how they use this tool, but it can be a way for a claims manager to know at the onset that they need to take a more hands-on approach to managing this claim, or maybe it's to the point where they need to pass it on to a supervisor or a nurse case manager, maybe opt for an IME or a peer review. So there's many ways that you can apply this risk assessment score to your claim. So back up to the claim level information, I can include factors such as the state that the claimant is located. I'll just go ahead and select California. I can enter the claimant age. This is a significant factor as it's going to have an impact on your return to work projections. And then of course the date of injury. And then down here I can select any one of these 9 confounding factors. And the reason we have this list is because we found these factors are the most common and have the most impact on return to work projections. So I'll go ahead and select depression, diabetes, smoker. And you are not limited to these 9 confounding factors. If your claimant or patient has another underlying condition, you can add that here. And just to show you, we'll type in, let's say they're also presenting with a knee sprain. So I can type that, select from my best hits below, and it pins it right next to my back sprain up top. So now we're looking at a claim where the patient has a back sprain as well as a knee sprain in California, 55 years of age, with depression, diabetes, and is a smoker. Now, another nice option with this site is the ability to filter by claim type information. So if you only want to look at workers' comp claims data or disability claims data, you can select that here, but it will default to include all ODG data. So looking down below at the return to work projections, you can see how those A and B values have changed due to those factors that we just entered above, as well as that risk assessment score, which increased from moderate to a high risk value. Now that score is influenced not only by the input factors, such as the state, the age, and the condition, but there are 2 key underlying data elements, and those elements are magnitude, which is the average time out of work, and then volatility. Volatility is the difference between your target best practice return to work date and your average. So where there's a bigger gap between these 2 values, that represents a higher volatility score. And volatility is opportunity. The higher the volatility score, the bigger the opportunity for you to have a positive outcome on the claim. The volatility score is where the risk assessment score adds a lot of value. A lot of seasoned case and claims managers know right at the onset of the claim that it's going to be problematic. However, there are some creeper claims that you may not know at the onset that it could be a high-risk claim, and that's where this risk assessment score can be helpful because it can identify those early on so you can take a more hands-on approach or route that claim on to another area for management. What's also important in return to work projections is what the claimant does for work. Now, historically, you've always been able to select a job class as defined by the Department of Labor, and you can still do so by selecting this drop-down window. If you don't know what that job class means, you can simply hover over each class to see that definition. But earlier this year, we partnered with My Abilities to bring a job database with over 32,000 job titles. So you can search the database by typing in a specific title. For example, I can enter firefighter. And when I do this, I get a drop-down window of several similar titles associated with firefighter, and then I can select the one that fits best. I'm just going to select a plain old firefighter. Now, when I select the job title, you'll see that it automatically adds that job class for me. And then below, you'll see how the projected duration values increase because now it's projecting return to work to full duties of a firefighter. You'll notice that I also get a green check mark on the job profile tab. And when I select that tab, it's going to open up the job profiler for me. And I immediately can see a job demand score of 99. Job demand scores range from 1 to 100, which means that a firefighter's job duties are more demanding than 99% of the jobs that are out there. It also provides me with a detailed description of what a firefighter does in their day-to-day duties, along with the physical demands of a firefighter. So this is going to tell me how many hours per shift a firefighter is carrying, pulling, lifting, climbing, and so on. Now you can share this information by clicking Share Job Profile Now, and it will generate an email that you can share. You also have the option to customize any of this. So I can select Customize, where you can enter in your information. And then select Confirm Owner. And now I can edit anything on here. To give you an example, if I want to go ahead and edit, sorry, this is moving a little bit slow. Sometimes the webinar will slow down the system, so I apologize. Uh-oh, not sure what happened there. Let me, okay, there we go. Sorry about that. So if I want to edit the job description, I can simply hit the edit button, and then I can copy and paste the job description in here, or I can write anything I could remove or add. When I'm done, I can go ahead and select Save. I can also edit any one of these physical demands simply by selecting that edit button. So let's say instead of pushing 100% in their 12-hour shift, let's say that they only push 40% of the time. Initially it's 100 pounds. The sustained amount is 50. And then when I'm done, I can go ahead and save this. And I can do that for all those physical demands. Or if there's a physical demand that's not on here, I can simply add that. So let's say that this firefighter also drives a truck. I can select Add Physical Demand, and then select Driving, add in my frequency here, and then save it. Sorry, this is moving slowly this morning. And then I can select Finished when I'm done. And then after I'm done perfecting the job profile, I can go ahead and select Approve to approve this job profile. And now, most importantly, I can easily share this information. So I can email this information to the employer so that they can become aware of the exact job description of their employees, as well as the physical demands, so they can make informed decisions for early return to work. You can also print this or save it as a PDF. You can share it with the patient. You know, engaging the patient is known to improve return to work outcomes. It also informs them of how their injury affects their job performance, what they can do. You can also share it with the treating physician in order to get an early return to work release. Now, all of this that I've just shown you with the job profiler is included with your ODG by MCG license. There is an enhanced version to this platform called the Job Profiler Pro. It's available as an upgrade. It's a great option if you want to customize your job descriptions, store a job data bank in the cloud, as well as provide more physical demand analysis. So back to the Duration tab. Also included on the Duration tab is this Return to Work Management Timeline, which indicates the initial day out of work, the average day out of work, as well as the best practice day out of work. And then it also shows you that in order to meet that best practice day out of work, that a return to work prescription should be issued anytime up to, but no later than day 27. Now, this dynamic timeline is also configurable. So if you want to remove or add any elements, you can certainly do so. Some examples would be like when to engage an IME or a nurse case manager, peer review, etc. Now, one of the best things that you can do with ODG is to share the content with everyone involved in the claim. It puts everyone on the same page so everyone knows the expectations, which makes it easier for you to achieve your goal. And there are multiple ways to print and share this content. You can simply print this page as is with all the graphics as they appear on the site, or you can convert it to a return to work prescription form. And this is going to allow you to include a diagnosis or leave it off depending on who you're sharing it with. And then down here, you can enter in all your desired method of contact, the employee name, the claim number, the physician name. The date of injury will be automatically populated for you, a date of surgery if applicable. And then down here, any comments that I'd like to share, I can write my own personalized note, or I can insert the ODG recommended text, which simply reads, Dr. Jones, please review the enclosed ODG guidelines for return to work. We'd like to put a return to work plan in place, etc. Now, this text box can also be configured for your own message that you would like to include. And then down below, this does include your best practice return to work target date of 38 days. Does have the option to select average. Below that are some return to work scenarios. Depending on the severity of the injury, you can select those. And then we have the recommended capability activity modifications, which are broken down by modified duty and regular duty. These are condition specific, so since we're looking at a back sprain and a knee sprain, these restrictions will include how long you can sit, stand, lift, and how often. But if we were looking at carpal tunnel syndrome or a rotator cuff tear, of course, those restrictions and modifications would be specific to those diagnoses. Now, it is important to include this content because you want all return to work to be safe and effective. And then we do include that job description, which was pulled from the job profiler. And I can see that after I'm satisfied with all the information I've entered, I can go ahead and select Create Printable Document. And now I have the option to print this document or save it as a PDF for sharing. And it includes all the information and goals that I just entered in a nice, easy to read document. It provides that general information up top, the job description, my comments, the diagnosis, the target return to work date, the recommended modifications, and then most importantly, a signature at the bottom for the treating physician to sign off and date this form. So essentially, this is an easy way to export and share these ODG return to work goals. We have had some feedback from our clients, and we found one of the most effective ways to share this form is to pose it as a question. You know, Dr. Jones, do you agree with these return to work timeframes and the diagnosis? If yes, great. If not, that's okay too, because you created dialogue which can open the door to things that you may not know about a claim. And then from a treating provider perspective, this can even be used at the point of care to help set goals for the patient. Now included is a job function evaluation form, which can be completed manually. And this is going to allow the provider to review and ensure that the injured worker will follow specific guidelines for a safe return to work, just in case any of those previous restrictions and modifications included above were missing any specifics. All right, going back to the duration tab. Now you can use these computer-generated values to help set your return to work goals and benchmark, but we do believe in human intervention. So if you want to drill down a bit further into the claim, you can highlight any of these and it will override that best practice value up there. These do include a list of ICD-9 and 10 codes associated with the topics that we searched and pinned up top, as well as the capability and activity modifications for both a back sprain and a knee sprain. And then below that, we do include high-level PT and chiropractic guidelines. You know, you can get more detailed guidelines within the ODG treatment guidelines. However, we do include this on this screen because we found that most clients are looking for a few key elements of information that they want to have at their fingertips right away. And that is projected return to work timeframes and how much physical therapy and chiropractic care can I expect. So we include that for you on the duration tab. Scrolling back up, just on a last note, we've also added in some consumer-facing content, specifically videos, and these are short animated overviews on the diagnosis in layman's terms provided by Visual Health Solutions. They're about 30 to 60 seconds in length. It's a great reference for clients that may not have a medical background so they can educate themselves on the diagnosis and what that means. You can also copy and paste this URL to send to the patient so that they can get a better understanding of their diagnosis. And just to show you what that looks like, I'll go ahead and click on the video. I don't believe there's going to be sound, but I just want to show you what it looks like. And then another great resource that we have for educating injured workers is our longstanding partner, Medline Plus. So I can go ahead and click on this Medline Plus link, and it's going to take me to the Medline Plus website where I get referential information such as the definition, the causes. I get full color anatomical pictures on the diagnosis, talks about treatment. It also converts to Spanish, and then you can print or save as a PDF to share with the injured worker, again, so they get a better understanding of their diagnosis and what that means. All right, so we've covered the duration tab. From here, I'm going to jump on over to the cost tab. So just to remind you, you'll notice that when you search criteria in ODG by MCG, a green check mark is going to appear on all the tabs that have relevant data associated with that criteria. So when I select the cost tab, the first thing that I see is the total cost, and that's based on the conditions that we have pinned up top. And that total cost includes indemnity, medical, and expense and administrative costs. And what's driving these costs are all the input factors that we entered here. And then the data that's driving these costs are the collection and analysis of about 5 million workers' comp claims and 20 billion in actual costs. So the indemnity projections are based on the ODG projected days out of work, and that's multiplied by 2/3 of the average weekly wage. And the average weekly wage is driven by the state as selected, and we're looking at a California claim. But if you know the exact weekly wage, you can enter that here. And when I do so, the system will automatically recalculate those costs for you. And then the medical, this is going to provide you with a sum of the overall costs that would be tied to the nature of this diagnosis that you could expect. And then expense and administrative costs gives you an idea of projected administrative surveillance, legal expenses, any administrative costs for the claim. If it is medical only, you can account for that by simply selecting medical only, which is going to remove the indemnity costs. And then you'll notice the medical costs are reduced pretty significantly because we have found that one of the best things an injured worker can do is return to work. It eliminates them from falling into a treatment trap or disability mindset, getting prescription after prescription, which may not be effective. All right, moving on, I'm going to go ahead and move on to the treatment tab, removing my knee sprain. When I select that treatment tab, what's populated below are any treatments that could be performed for the low back. And it lists all the treatment options alphabetically. And you now have the option to filter these results, and they can be filtered by recommendation type. So recommended, not recommended, or under study. So if I only want to look at recommended treatments, I can select that here. I can also filter by category. So let's say I only want to see recommended injections for the low back. I can select that here. And then once I find the guideline that I want to review, I can I can't even talk today, please forgive me. I can simply click on that link, and it's going to open up that treatment guideline where I can see that an epidural steroid injection is conditionally recommended as a possible short-term treatment of radicular pain. And that's followed immediately by the ODG criteria highlighted in blue. Now this criteria is patient selection criteria, which means that in order for this epidural steroid injection to be recommended, the patient must meet all the criteria that's highlighted in blue. And then below the criteria is the evidence summary. And this is where we summarize all the different evidence that supports these recommendations. So each study contains a link, and I can click on that link and it pulls up a full citation of that study. It provides me with the rating as well as the PMID number. And when I click on that PMID number, it takes me to the National Library of Medicine's PubMed database where I can see the complete abstract. So you can copy and paste, print, include this in your reports. You can use it to start a conversation with the treating physician advocating for or against medical treatment. But whatever you use it for, you will have instant credibility because this is the actual medical evidence that backs up that recommendation from the treatment guidelines. You can easily share this information by copying and pasting into your reports or select the print icon to print and or save as a PDF. So that's a quick overview on how to find and use the treatment guidelines. You can also type in whatever you're looking for. So let's say that you want to see physical therapy guidelines for the low back. I can type in physical therapy, low back. And then I can see that, of course, it's recommended for a low back injury. I can click on that guideline and it's going to open up and tell me the ODG criteria in blue provides recommendations on number of visits. And these visits are based on what the particular diagnosis is. Also, is it just medical? Is it post-injection or post-surgical treatment? Now, these will provide you with a baseline of what you can expect to see, but they are guidelines. They're meant to guide care. So there will be patients that fall outside of these guidelines. You know, some patients may heal quickly and need less visits. Some may be showing documented functional improvement, so it would make sense to authorize more visits than what ODG indicated. Conversely, you may have patients that have been receiving physical therapy for years. They're not improving, so this gives you some sort of evidence-based reasoning as to why you could suggest discontinuing the physical therapy and perhaps move forward with an alternative type of treatment that may be more effective. So now that we selected these guidelines, you'll see that they're both pinned up top. So you can print these, you can save them as a PDF for sharing, you can copy and paste this in your notes in your claim system, or you can copy the URL, save this to your favorites on your web browser, your notes in your claim system, or a Word document so you can pick up right where you left off. In other words, you won't have to enter in all that claim level information for you. It will all be saved so you can pick up right where you left off. All right, I'm going to go back to the home screen. So I'm going to select the Home tab. And when I do that, it's going to clear out all my previous search criteria. So keep that in mind. When you select the Home tab, it will refresh so you can begin anew. I'm going to go ahead and select my back sprain again. And then from the Home tab, I'm going to go ahead and select that Tau Index tab. And if you're familiar with legacy ODG, this is really the next generation of the UR advisor. So TAO stands for Treatment Analyzer on Outcomes. So for a given diagnosis, this maps all the procedures that have been performed for this diagnosis, sorted by incidence. And what's driving this information in this tool is the collection and analysis of about 5 million workers' comp insurance claims. And it provides information such as the CPT code, the procedure name, the CPT group, the frequency, how common this procedure is, the number of visits, as well as costs. But the three most important components of the TAO are going to be the payment flag, authorization, number of visits, and the TAO index score. Now, the payment flag is a color-coded flag system designed to streamline the treatment approval process. And there's 4 colors that these flags can be: green, yellow, red, and black. So any procedure with a green flag means that it's recommended for automatic approval based on ODG because it's an evidence-based approval. So not only does the data show that these are commonly performed procedures, but there are plenty of high-quality randomized controlled trials proving that these procedures are effective. And it's recommended for the automatic approval up to the number of authorized visits to the left of the flag. Anything that triggers a yellow flag, these are categorized as a data-driven approval, and a good example would be a cold pack. So this is a yellow flag. ODG recommends automatically approving up to the authorization number of visits. And what a yellow flag is telling us from the data collected for a cold pack is that this is a commonly performed procedure. It's inexpensive, it's not harmful, and has positive outcomes. So ODG recommends automatically approving because the time and cost to review this would override the cost of the procedure. And then anything that triggers a red flag, these are procedures ODG recommends reviewing before approving. And a good example of that would be work conditioning. So this doesn't mean that red procedures should not be approved. It just means that an actual person should look at this case and determine whether it's necessary or not. So this is a high-cost procedure that works very well for certain candidates if they meet certain criteria. So a nurse or a reviewer can look at this and see if it's necessary or not. And a great resource to assist in making that decision are the full text guidelines that we just reviewed. And then anything that triggers a black flag, these are procedures ODG recommends to route for further review with extreme caution. Black procedures are procedures, black procedures are treatments that you would not expect to see very often. And a good example of that would be arthrodesis as mapped to a back sprain. Not something that you would normally see, so it's going to say, hey, stop, take a look at this, you need to review it. Now what's new in the Tau index is the Tau index score. One of the advantages of being in the workers' comp and disability market is that we have access to outcomes data, and that data is return to work. And what we've done is analyzed each of these procedures as it correlates to return to work, and we've given them a Tau index score. And this score ranges from 100 in the positive to 100 in the negative. Now, the higher that score is in the positive, the better the return to work outcomes that are correlated to that procedure. The lower that score is in the negative, the worse the return to work outcomes. So this can be used as additional decision support in order to determine if a treatment procedure is required or not. So if a procedure triggers a red flag, but it has a high Tau score, that may be something that you're more likely to approve. All right, moving on, I'm going to go ahead and select the Drug Formulary tab. And just a note, the drug formulary is not condition-based. In other words, we don't want you to think that the drugs you're looking at are specific to the condition that you've plugged in up top. The drug formulary is where we get medication guidance. And how this formulary came to be, we indexed all of the drug therapies found in the treatment guidelines, pulled them out, and put them in an easy-to-interpret and easy-to-implement formulary. And we have them categorized first by drug class, generic name, brand name, and then any notes, which we do keep to a minimum, but we try to include them where necessary. The generic equivalency indicates whether or not there is a generic equivalent approved by the FDA. And then the most important part of the formulary is the status column. So this is where you will see if a drug is recommended as a first line of treatment in ODG. Green is going to be yes. Red is no, although an N drug may be recommended as a second line of treatment. And then lastly, we do include the cost of these drugs for a typical course of treatment. If you want more information as to where these costs are derived, you can open up the formulary information sheet where you can scroll down, read more about the cost source, as well as a detailed summary of how each cost is derived from the number of milligrams to the number of doses to the days of therapy. You can also filter the formulary by drug class. So let's say maybe you only want to look at benzodiazepines. So I can select that here. And then you can even search out a specific type of drug. So for example, I can type in Librium. And then at any point, I can expand these lines, and it's going to bring up the full treatment guidelines supporting the drug status and recommendation, as well as a list of all the NDC codes that are associated with that given drug. And then again, quick links to the Medline Plus where I can get referential information on the drug, dosing, side effects, etc. Also included is the opioid MED calculator, or the morphine equivalent dosing calculator. And this is where I can plug in how many milligrams per day a patient is taking of any of the following drugs. So to show you how it works, let's say our patient is taking 100 milligrams of codeine, and we'll say 40 milligrams of hydrocodone, 10 milligrams of methadone, and we'll just say 5 milligrams of oxycodone. So when I did that, you'll notice that to the right, it is providing the morphine equivalent dosage for each drug, as well as a grand total at the bottom. And then it also includes the ODG opioid dosing guidelines. So ODG does not recommend that any patient take more than 100 MED per day, and also recommends using caution for any patient taking more than 50 MED per day. So this provides an overview of all the different tabs included in the ODG by MCG solution. I'd also like to highlight just a few of the training options included in ODG by MCG. So from the home page, I can select any of the tabs without entering any search criteria, and you'll see a video on whichever tab you selected. These videos are about 3 to 4 minutes in length. It walks you through in detail how to navigate through each of the tabs. At the top of the screen, we do have a help and training drop-down window. This includes links to sign up for these monthly live introduction to ODG webinars. It also has a link to our self-paced training, as well as provide further information and guides for use and reference, along with a link to our ODG help desk, or if you prefer, the telephone number to the ODG help desk. So that wraps up my overview of ODG by MCG. I want to thank you for your time, and I'm going to go ahead and turn this back over to Daphne for questions and comments.
Thanks, Suzanne. That was great. We do have a few questions. What if I can't find a topic in the guidelines?
This is a great question, and one of the more common questions that we do get at the help desk. So just to let you know, most of the time when you are searching, it's probably in ODG. It could be that you can't find it because it's a matter of terminology. There may be multiple terms for the condition or procedure. It could be a matter of simply expanding your search. In other words, depending on what you're looking for. If you're looking for a diagnosis and you can't find it by typing it in here, go ahead and simply select the ICD-9 and ICD-10 dropdown and complete your search there. Most likely it will be there. If you're looking for a procedure that's not coming up, it's possible that it may not be in there. But the best thing that you can do is reach out to your account manager. You can contact the help desk either by phone or email, because if it isn't in the guidelines, then we can route it to the editorial department for a request for review to get it in ODG.
All right, thanks. Can you show again where the training section is with the videos? Someone has asked if you could show again where to get to those videos.
Absolutely. Well, there's two different ways that you can get to the videos. So from the home screen, without entering any search criteria, I can select any of these tabs, and the video will appear on whichever tab I selected. So for instance, this is the duration, treatment, tau index, and then additionally, up at the help and training dropdown, we do have a self-paced training, which will also lead you to these modules as well.
All right, great. That's handy. Okay, thank you. Let's see here. Does the cost tab calculate permanent or total or partial total disability?
That's a good question too. The short answer is not at this time, no. This cost tab will only calculate temporary total disability.
Okay. Will the old site, the legacy site, be kept up to date?
Yes, all production has ceased on legacy ODG, meaning product enhancements, speed, stuff like that, but we will keep all the content current and up to date as long as we have that open and available to our clients.
All right, great. We're going to have to wrap this up. I see that more questions are coming in, and any questions that we didn't get to, we will get back to you through email in the next day or two. Also, a copy of the webinar will be sent to you within 1 week. The last question, and if you want to throw it back on my screen, then we have contact info. Oh, there, it went away. I think you can put it back on my screen. There you go. The last question is, how does licensing work and how much does it cost?
Sorry about that. So ODG by MCG is an organizational license, and licensing is based on organizational type, size, and volume. So if you'd like a customized quote, we suggest that you reach out to your account manager. If you're not a current ODG client and new to ODG, you can reach out to the ODG help desk or give us a call.
All right, great. Well, thank you so much, Suzanne, and thank you everyone for your attendance. And again, if we did not get to your question, we will respond to you through email, and have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Please stand by.